Have downtown Toronto condo prices returned to 2017 or 2018 levels? Well, a client of mine actually asked me this question and I was curious to see. So I thought, you know what, let's find out together. Now let's take downtown neighborhood by neighborhood, community by community. It's a bit of an easier comparison point. So for example, let's select a random community in downtown Toronto. Downtown Toronto will go with C1. The specific community will go with, for instance, Bay Street Corridor. We're gonna select sold, and we're gonna look at every single sold unit as of the most recent weeks from the time of recording of this video, April 1st to, we'll say the time of recording of this video is April 23rd. So we'll just put April 23rd. And we see that in downtown Toronto, in Bay Street Corridor, there has been specifically only 26 sales from April 1st to April 23rd of 2025. You know, the usual suspects are here. 11 St. Joseph, 770 Bay, 44 St. Joseph, a pretty decent building. I made a review of 44 St. Joseph. Go check that out. It'll be somewhere on the screen. Safe to say 26 though is very, very anemic. Usually, I mean, for today's market, everything is anemic in terms of sales, but that will obviously translate into specific pockets in downtown. But the point is, what is the average and median of all these sales? Once again, it's not an exact science, right? Ideally, we would do a per square foot of every single sale and do an entire per square foot in Bay Street Corridor, but that analysis is difficult and sometimes can be misleading because of improper square footage sources. Average and median of all these 26 sales, statistically, we see a median sold price of $717,000 with an average of $907,000. Here, due to the low amount of sales, median is a much better measure, I would say, because average is more susceptible to higher entry points and lower entry points when there's only 26 sales or so. We have the median and average of 2025. Let's take a look at the exact same 23 days, April 1st to April 23rd. But instead of looking in 2025, let's look at what the average in Bay Street Corridor was as an example in 2018 to start. So all we do is simply just go change this 25 to 2018. And then of course, we're gonna look at 2018 as well. So looking once again from April 1st, 2018 to April 23rd, 2018, same exact neighborhood, Bay Street Corridor, and voila, we have 65 results, more than double the sales. And this is something that, you know, is ubiquitous across the market in specific pockets, neighborhoods, whether it's for houses, condos, whatever it is, in Mississauga, in downtown. You're now comparing to 2018, you're seeing either double the sales, triple the sales. In this case, if my math is right, it's almost triple the sales. Once again, the same usual suspects, you know, the 38 Elms, back in 2018, 70 Temperance, 633 Bay Street, all in Bay Street Corridor. And really, Bay Street Corridor, by the way, as a side note, is a community that doesn't have a lot of new development typically. It's not like C1 waterfront, C8 waterfront. So even back in 2018, you're gonna see the same couple of buildings popping up here. Well, let's take a look at the statistics. How does it compare? And wow, okay, so average is $757,000, so less than the average sold price of 2025. Remember, 2025 was 900, but the median sale here is $695,000. Using Bay Street as just a sample, as an example, prices are almost back to 2018 levels. We saw the median in 2025 was around the low 700s, 717, 715. So really the median is really close right now. It's not quite back to 2018 levels, but it's really close. Let's take a look at another area. Let's, for instance, just honestly, this is off the top of my head, just picking random neighborhoods. Let's go C8. Let's go, for instance, Church Yonge Corridor. And once again, let's first start by looking at 2025 here. So in 2025, in the Church Yonge Corridor in C8, there has been a total of 34 condo sales, which once again, as a side note, 501 Yonge Street is an not so good building. I've been asked about this building a lot lately from my clients. Avoid it if possible, but here we see this unit sold for $900,000, a 2+1. You know, 197 Young is okay. I've talked about it plenty on this channel. You know, a bachelor, maybe more tenant friendly than buyer friendly, and a lot of people who actually live in 197 Young. Not everyone, obviously, but fair demographic, I would probably have to say, do cash jobs. Let me put it in that way. They're in industries that cash is probably a better, you know, a medium of exchange. But anyways, that's besides the point. The point is that let's just go see what the average is. And we see that so far in April, I mean, April 1st to April 23rd, the average in Church Young corridor is $636,000 for a condo. The median is $606,000. Once again, I know all the genius quantitative people in the comments will tell me this is such a bad way to do this. I understand this is not an exact science. It's just a rule of thumb, okay? Yes, we have to account for the number of bedrooms and all that, but we're just looking at averages and medians. Let's compare it to 2018. Once again, let's see what we find. And first and foremost, once again, 2018, 58 sales, not substantially more, not even double really, but more sales still. And before we look at the average and medians, like for instance, this sticks out to me. This unit in one bloor back then sold for around $835,000 as a 1+1 with 2 washrooms, 0 parking. Just that unit alone will not sell for above 800 today. We'll see what the average and medians say, but one bloor, definitely that unit will not sell for above 800 today. I can confidently say. And yes, in 2018, prices were still lower. We see an average of $635,000 and median of $572,000. Not that far though, still, right? But then you have like specific instances such as this one. Once again, like I'm confident a 08 unit, and I know One Bloor Street East really well. I've represented clients in there many times. I'm confident that this would not sell for that much. So we can't go based on one example. We have to go on the average and medians, more 1,000-foot view. So still not quite that low, but you see it's close. And let's just do one more random, like let's just change down to C1. I'm curious, like something like Lower Portugal, right? Let's take a look at Lower Portugal, for example. We're gonna come now to 2025 again. And wow, only 6 sales in 2025 in Lower Portugal. Let's derive the statistics. And bam, 515 median, 519 average. The gap between the median and average is very close, implying a very fair and balanced market. At least it's a compact range, right? The lowest sale and the highest sale, there's not that much of a delta. But now let's compare that to 2018. And in 2018, 15 sales. Now, Little Portugal is a very low sale area because there's only so many buildings, right? It's a compact number of buildings. You have the Minnow and Macon Lane, Ebel, Lisgar, the Ebel Lofts, which you're lucky even to get 2 transactions in those artsy lofts a year. Gladstone, which is pretty much part of Minnow and Macon Lane. So you don't have that many buildings to really have that much volume, but let's look at the statistics. Bam, wow, $510,000. So this community, Little Portugal, prices on a median basis are actually less than 2018. That's surprising. I thought this would also be close as well, like, you know, Bay Street and Church Young corridor, but not the case here. And yeah, it's not an exact science. That's not an exact science. However, clearly prices are closer to 2018 levels than I initially thought and anticipated, at least by these communities and areas. Now, I'm sure if we look at Scarborough, if we look at Etobicoke, look at houses, if we look at certain street in terms of freehold, I know for a fact that certain freehold options, especially where I work the most in North York and Richmond Hill, on the house side, that's where I work the most. I know there's certain streets and neighborhoods that are not selling as high as they were in 2018. Like for example, there's this community in North York called Willowdale. And Willowdale is known for its McMansions, or sometimes not proper like Forest Hill mansions or proper Avenue Road mansions, but McMansions. It's like pretty high-end 3,000 to 4,000 square feet properties, brand new 2-story detached double car garage, triple car garage, right? And in this part of North York, in Willdale East, during the peak of the market in 2018, certain properties were fetching 3.5, 3.7. Now they're probably fetching around 3.2. Of course, it's still 3 million, still 3.2 million. It's not your everyday buyer buying that. But in certain freehold areas for the high-end, top shelf, high price point properties, they are selling less than 2018. But to have a fair assessment, we would have to do a similar type of test, I guess. All right, that was it for today's video. A quicker one than normal. The previous video was around like 23 minutes long, and you guys didn't seem to like it that much. So, going forward, I'm gonna see if I should be doing shorter videos, longer videos, but at the end of the day, I don't really care. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Yes, I do see your comments. Yes, I am compiling a bunch of questions to do a Q&A. So, always reading your comments. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe, stay tuned, subscribe, get in touch for any buying, selling, leasing inquiries. Thank you very much.